Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. In the last part, we took out the rest of Snowhead Temple, restoring spring to the mountainside in the process, as well as took place in the Goron race, which granted us our second bottle filled with gold dust. Now, we can't do the main purpose of gold dust in this 3-day cycle because of how it went about things, so instead we're going to use it for its secondary purpose, here at the Curiosity Shop. This is a shop I talked about before that only opens up after 10 p.m. on any given night. And apparently we'll only interact with aliens. Okay.
Hi.
Come in. Tonight I got nothing to sell, I kid you not. Can I buy something? I'll pay you good for it. Show it to me with C. So you can give various items in bottles to the Curiosity Shop here for rupees, and the gold dust sells for a solid 200, which is one of the best ways to get money in the game. And he was also added to our notebook, so that means he's involved in a side quest of some sort. In fact, maybe even one of the biggest ones in the game. So now it's time for us to go do things around the map now that we've cleared Snowhead. In fact, I'd say overall, more of the game opens up between Snowhead and us being able to take care of the next dungeon than anywhere else in the game. I'd say over half the side quests are available at this point. And for flow reasons, we're gonna go approach them a certain way. Because right now I could technically go use the powder cake we have to open something up, but I'm still gonna wait for the third day to come about. And spend some time doing this side quest here in Termina Field. I technically foreshadowed this when we were waiting for day to come for the morning of the second day to do the swamp shooting gallery several parts back. But throughout Termina Field, there are 4 holes that, when you enter them, have 4 stones of truth in them. What you need to do is come up to the stones. You actually have to get kind of close for it to pick up, and play one of the songs that opens up a dungeon. Either the Goron's Lullaby, the Sonata of Awakening, the song we're going to get in several parts to open up the 3rd dungeon, or the one for the 4th one. When you play that song to that particular Stone of Truth that is large, it'll spin and turn a color. I think it's like green for Sonata of Awakening. I want to say it's red for Snowhead. I think it's blue for the 3rd one and yellowish for the 4th. And if you turn all 4 of them a single color, we get a reward. This is one of those, I have no idea how you're supposed to figure it out kind of deals. I guess maybe if you get a certain mask that returns from Ocarina of Time, it hints to them if you talk to them. But I don't know. I've actually interacted with the Stones of Truth in this game very little compared to my years of Ocarina of Time. And part of it's just because I think there are overall fewer of them. Because like by and large in Majora's Ocarina of Time, you saw very often like at least 1 per map, maybe 2. It feels like they're much more constrained in their placements here in Majora. And I guess part of that is just because their main purpose in Ocarina was also to help you tell time, which is always a clock on screen to see, but not so much here. By the way, for getting all 4 of those statues into 1 color, you get a piece of heart. It doesn't matter which of the 4 colors it is, as long as they're all the same color. And next up, we're going to head towards the northern part of Termina Field. By the way, I think if you take that jump off that ramp a certain way, you actually find some rupees, which is kind of neat. Because over here on the lower portion of the Snowhead section, there's this hole. And here is a returning enemy from Ocarina of Time, Dodongos. The Dodongos in this game are almost all at this particular stage of lifespan where you hit them in the tail and they breathe fire at you and they try to swing into you. And if you kill them, they explode. These particular Dodongos are actually very handy in the game for rupee grinding because every time you kill one of them, they drop 50. Which means I technically wasted 100 in this room, but oh well. Take out those 2, a chest spawns in, and I believe this contains our next piece of heart. They're kind of inconsistent on using the super opening animation for pieces of heart or not, it feels like. Next up, if memory serves of how I edited this, it's time for us to go collect something I've been able to get for a good while. It's time for us to head back to Woodfall Temple area. Because you might remember, several parts ago I mentioned there was a piece of heart there I could have gotten, but I plain forgot to. Whoops. This is what I mean when I brilliantly brought it up earlier, where technically this is one of my most efficient playthroughs in some regards, but there's definitely some moments where I just went "Doh!" and did something a little stupidly. One of the premier cases of that so far being the fact that I forgot, once again, that you can only turn in the pictograph contest before finishing off Woodfall Temple. That's on me. That's happened several times before as it is, though. I'm a good player in Majora's Mask, but I ain't perfect. I ain't a speedrunner. Although I think about it in that regard, actually, I think Majora's Mask is definitely one of the games I routed in my brain the earliest. In terms of, like, just having memorized what happens where usually at what time. There's a couple of games I'm like that with. Like, I've already kind of shown that off for, on stream at least, some of the Metroid games. But Majora's Mask is one of the earliest cases of me doing that, from just playing it over and over again at this point. Same with Ocarina, although Ocarina I'm a little more in the vague on in memory when it comes to some of the specific gold Skulltulas, but I think I remember enough to at least get the piece of heart. Mind you, I say that, but it also could be the fact of a thing of, oh, I remember where this one is now, and this one is now when I'm actually playing. Because there is definitely a real part of recall like that with memory where if you just try to randomly think of it, you won't remember where things are, but when you're actively in the moment, it's just suddenly all there. Next up, we want to head back here to West Clocktown because, frankly, I might as well deposit the rupees I have and get a good update on where we are for the overall goal. No, not withdraw rupees, we're full. Something I should note, by the way, I haven't mentioned this yet. The bank was actually moved in Majora's Mask 3D. They kind of retooled South Clocktown to have a few more important things in it, including the bank. And also notably, it's never used in the game, but the bank actually has an animation when it closes. But it never actually closes. It's like a shutter coming down, just kind of blocking the area off. There's a lot of unused content in Majora. I'd say maybe even more than there was in Ocarina of Time because of how quickly they had to throw this thing together in comparison to some other games. I'm not going to go over a lot of it because some of it's just a lot of stuff like this text was different, there's this unused actor and all that jazz. I recommend if you're ever interested, look at the cutting room floor page for this game. It's one of those that's so severe in its scale that each of the individual sections is more or less a link to a different page for that subsection. You don't see a lot of those. So, what my goal is now, more or less, to spend the next little time until the dawn of the third day happens, is to rupee grind. And there's a couple of good ways to do that. You can either just go through all of the bushes in Termina Field to get some of that off pretty quickly, but the best way to do it is over here near Milk Road. We got this vulture enemy. This is, I think its name is Takuri? This is a very particular vulture that flies around but actively tries to fly into you, and when it does, it can steal your items. In particular, it can steal either your sword or one of your bottles. It's got a lot of health. It takes about, I think, 12-ish normal arrows, 6-ish magic arrows to kill. But it is one of the fastest ways to get money in the game at this point. There's technically faster methods down the line. Every time you kill it, it drops an orange rupee, which is 200 rupees. And since that's the max we can carry, it's pretty efficient. It does take a lot of arrows, but arrows don't take a lot to get in Majora's Mask, because you can just roll through any of the grass in Termina Field for a good chance, but especially if it's grouped up. Or go to, say, the Milk Road owl statue, and just cut down some of the grass near that for a guaranteed drop. It is absurdly good for grinding. In fact, I think a couple times this part alone, we actively kill that in Fast Forward just to grind some money out. Also, I'm glowing blue right now. That's because I touched that bubble. This means I'm cursed, which means I cannot draw my sword as Hylian Link. The Deku can still spin, the Gorons can still punch, and any of the other transformations in the game can still technically attack. You just can't use your sword. Now, I'm only depositing 100 rupees because in my brain, I'm going to need to use it in a few moments to do some stuff here in the shops here in Clocktown. But frankly, you can deposit all 200 I just did if you're following along, because there are 2 silver rupee chests here in Clocktown that we have yet to really do anything with. And I'm going to get one of them right now. I think I wait a little bit to get the second one because of an item that makes it easier to get, though if you just do a good roll jump with Hylian Link, you can get it no problem. You might remember, way back in like part 1 or 2 when we explored the sewers down here, there was a Sculptula just weirdly to the left of the start of the sewers. Now that we have bombs or the blast mask, we can actually do anything over here. On top of that, Deku Link can't actively reach here without, I think, a very specific spin jump, and even then, I don't think it's actually possible. You can destroy this wall, unveiling this chest with a silver rupee in it. That's pretty nice. Rupee grinding in Majora's Mask, if you're going for 100%, is required, yeah, but it's not too bad, especially if you keep it in mind from the start of the game. I've had several playthroughs where I just kind of wait to do it until towards the end, which just means I kind of have to spend a lot of time killing Takuris or doing the other method that's decently fast. But if you know to do it from the start, you don't have to worry too much. I do want to highlight, though, while I deposit more rupees, because again, I could have deposited 200 a moment ago. I forget if I joked about this when we first accessed the Song of Time and came back in time for this 3-day cycle, but we're essentially committing bank fraud, because the way the bank works is that the banker reads the stamp, and from that knows how much you've deposited and all that. We technically never deposited that money this time around. He just believes that we did, because we have the stamp and there's no way to mimic that. I almost feel bad. Almost. Alright, so now we're coming over to East Clocktown to do the things we're going to do here, and we're going to start with this building right behind me. This is the treasure chest shop. One of the most interesting looking buildings in the area, but also one of the most annoying mini games. We have to wait though, because it opens at exactly 6 AM, so it's time for the dawn of the third day. Also, as you can see, because we're only now on our third day, we started this 3-day cycle in, what, part 4, I think? We've gotten a lot done in 6 videos. We've gotten 2 whole dungeons done in one 3-day cycle. If you know your way around this game, you can get through it pretty quickly, compared to some other Zelda games. Well, aren't you a fit fellow? Wanna play? For you, it's 30 rupees. If you can make it all the way to the treasure chest and open it within a time limit, I'll give you a special prize. Finding out what's inside is half the fun. Are you ready? So this is a bit of an annoying minigame in that it's random every time. A treasure chest spawns in a random spot, and you have to navigate a randomly generated maze that you can't see the walls in until you actively hit them, like so. What's really annoying about this place is that your reward depends on which transformation mask you're wearing. If you're Hylian Link, it costs 20 rupees to play, and you get 50 rupees for winning. As a Deku, it's 10 rupees, and you get 10 Deku nuts. For the next transformation, it's 5 rupees, and the prize is 20 rupees. And as a Goron, it costs 30, and your prize is a piece of heart. It's completely up to chance whether or not you have a good time with that minigame. Like, right there, I got it. That's probably one of the quickest times I've got that, period. But I've had times where I cut that down to even, like, the last second. It's rough at times. Not consistently, too, which is annoying. Because it's random. It's whether or not you have a good time with it, it's completely up to chance. Next up, let's take care of this. This is the town shooting gallery. This is hard. If you still have time, why don't you try it, Sonny? One game's 20 rupees. Alright, Sonny, the rules are simple. Hit as many red ones as you can within the time limit. If you hit a blue one, you lose time, so watch out. You can use as many arrows as you'd like. Press space to shoot them. Our highest score is 39. If you break the record, you win a spectacular prize. Good luck. So this, in its execution, is a little closer to the shooting galleries from Ocarina of Time, but we have to hit Octoroks. For every red one you hit, you get a point. If you hit a blue one, you lose, I think, a second or two. I forget the exact number. But you have to go through a set sequence of Octoroks and just get as many as you can. For breaking the record, you get 1 reward, and for getting all of them, all 50 Octoroks, you get another one. This sounds easy, but because of how the bow works and the amount of time you have, you are kind of pressed for getting this, and it can be real rough. I've seen people spend entire 3-day cycles on this. I've done that at least once or twice. It can be hard. And it's also the reason why I am playing this with an N64 controller, because I, for the life of me, cannot do nearly as well with this on a GameCube on analog stick. Because of the way the N64 controller snaps back when you let go of the analog stick, I can do this relatively consistently. In fact, I think I've almost kind of wore down my N64 controller's analog stick in such a specific way from doing this so many times that I just can do it very comfortably. This is hell, but it's worth it for 100% for a number of reasons. Well, look at that. You hit 45. That's a new record. Blah, blah, blah. We get the largest quiver. Now we can hold up to the max of 50 arrows. This may be our last day in business, and you shot pretty well. Now we have to get it perfectly done, which can be rough. Take your time, memorize the pattern that Octoroks come up if you have to, and keep in mind one thing that's honestly pretty helpful. I'm also going to speed up the second round, by the way. Is, for one thing, if you don't quite get the record, you get some rupees back. But I think if you get, like, really close from memory, I think, like, 1 or 2 shots away from the record, I think you get another shot at it for free? I might be thinking of another Zelda game right now, but I think that happens here. Huh? No way. That was perfect. Well, here you go. And we now get a piece of heart. That can be rough. If you run time low doing this, don't worry. It's not a big loss. And you're gonna want to probably leave this town shooting gallery if you're playing along. Probably before noonish for the sake of time. Just because there's other things I want to get done in this 3-day cycle. In fact, let's go do one of those things now. You could have found this if you were exploring around Termina Field. But there is a hidden hole beneath some grass here near Milk Road. And you could enter it during the night, but you can't do the thing in it during night. Also take a second to find it because I can never quite remember exactly where it is. The butterflies are a good way to judge it, but sometimes it just doesn't work right. Down here is the only appearance in the game of the Ocarina of Time P-hats, which terrified me as a kid. They spin at you, you have to hit them in their little nub on the bottom. If you come here at night, this thing will not attack you. It is asleep and will spawn baby P-hats to just attack you instead. But if you come here during the day and kill it, we get a reward that's more than worth the effort. It does have a lot of health because it takes even several hits with Goron punches that are pretty strong, but it's ultimately worth it. Because for beating it, a chest spawns, and at this point, based off the number we've gotten, let alone this part, you can guess what's inside here. You know, in retrospect, this animation plays for more pieces of heart and chests than I remembered. I guess usually whenever it happens, I'm like taking a look at another screen or taking a sip of my drink. Next up, if memory serves, I'm going to kill the Takuri again, just for more rupees. I know I'm technically wasting 30 by doing this, but oh well, that's a free 170 for 12 arrows that I can get for free anyway, so it's worth it. I'm going to be speeding up basically any other times I'm killing the Takuri throughout, because that takes a minute or two, and hey, I don't want to waste that time for you. There we go. Our next destination is to head back into Milk Road, because now that's the dawn of the third day. That guy breaking the rock has successfully broken the rock. So now we can progress past it into the main portion of this part of the map. Get out the Bremen mask, by the way, it proves to be kind of helpful coming up. I opened the way. For some reason I always remember having more dialogue about that, but oh well. Welcome to Romani Ranch, the Lon Lon Ranch standard. It even has the exact same music. You may have noticed a certain sound that played a moment ago. Look! Isn't that your horse? Well, why the hell are you here? And I can't get past the fence or investigate you. Kid, can you let my horse go, please? You... Who are you again? Romani, the ranch girl, was added to your notebook. Something seems a little up with her. See if anyone else is home, I guess. Also, not for nothing, I forget if I brought this up in Ocarina of Time, but the general Zelda house theme, the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, I think the N64 version of that song is probably my favorite. If it's not that, it's specifically Wind Waker's. The other versions aren't bad, I love them too, but there's just something about the N64 version that's so comfy to me. Well, no one was in there. What about in the farmhouse? Oh, hello there. Oh, I'm sorry. Right now I'm thinking a little. My little sister, my sister, she... Oh, what shall we do? Our precious cows. If I thought it would come to this, then Romani said I should have... Creamy, the ranch owner, was added to your notebook. Well, clearly something happened during the 3-day cycle here, so we should probably come back here on our next 2-day cycle a little earlier to see if we can figure out what happened. So now it's time for the only real thing you can do in this direction for the moment, outside of just exploring it. We can come to the Cuckoo Shack. Because there's a side quest we can actively take care of here in this 3-day cycle. It's the only one in the area we really can. I heard it from my gramps. It says the moon's gonna fall. With something that big, it'd sure take this ranch down with it. Oh well. Well, the regret is that I won't get to see these guys in their prime as roosters. The Cuckoo-loving grog was added to your notebook. So, this is why I have the Bremen mask equipped, because if you play the song and march along, the Cuckoos will follow you, like the mask description said even when you got it. You can actively have animals follow you with it. You actually could have seen this effect even with the dogs in Clocktown. And we now need to gain the full march of, I think, all 10 Cuckoo chicks throughout the area for this side quest to progress. This is kind of slow and tedious, I admit. And there's even times where you just feel like you don't know where that one you're missing is. It's sometimes usually behind one of the walls, or one you were walking past at that point was just hidden by one of the bushes barely enough that you couldn't see it. I've had this take upwards of 5 minutes, but sometimes you get lucky and sometimes the Cuckoo chicks are grouped up in such a way that you get 2 of them at once, which is kind of nice. It is somewhat random, but oh well. I don't think there's a way for you to like corral them all into one corner before this easily, because I don't think they really react to your presence that much otherwise. Once you get all 10 or so, they mysteriously become adults. I'm not gonna question the logistics of this. It's Zelda, magic happens. And what's more magical than a good parade? I don't really get it, but just seeing these guys at the crest and all, I don't have regrets about anything anymore. I'm perfectly satisfied. Here, you can have this from me. For doing that very slow side quest, we get the Bunny Hood. My, what long ears it has! Will the power of the wild spring forth? Yeah, these guys are all roosters. We fulfilled the wishes of youth. This was added to your notebook. The Bunny Hood is returning mask from Ocarina of Time, but now it actively has an effect. And I think the Ocarina of Time 3DS added this one in as well. The Bunny Hood more or less doubles Link's moving speed. So with this combined with the Song of Inverse Time, you can technically get things done about 6 times as quickly. It also radically increases the distance at which you can jump off ledges. For just general land movement over long distances, the Goron roll is faster, but for movement in a lot of dungeons or sections where you need to be highly in Link, it is faster. With that said, I tend to not use it a lot of the time, if only because I usually need my 3 item slots taken up by something else. This is admittedly a benefit for playing Ocarina of Time, not Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask 3D, because you can then just have this on at all times, as well as the Ocarina on at all times, and then just swap those other 2 item slots out, no problem. But for the N64 version, can't really do that as easily. And technically speaking, that's all we're getting done in this 3-day cycle in terms of main side quest completion. There is one I can technically go do in Southern Swamp if memory serves, but I think it's better served to do that at the earliest possible opportunity in the next 3-day cycle for a couple of reasons. So we're gonna spend the rest of this in-game 18 hours just about doing rupee grinding and talking about it in more depth, because we still have to hit a lofty goal of 5,000. I think I'm just shy of 1,000 still. For one thing, every 3-day cycle, there are consistent rupees you can get in Clocktown. I already showed off the 50 rupees on top of the tower in South Clocktown during the first 3-day cycle. I showed off the 100 rupees in the sewer a few minutes ago. But also, if you use either the bunny hood or some roll jumps, you can get on top of the town shooting gallery and come over here for this chest, which is another quick 100 rupees. And that's pretty good and dandy. There are the chests that reset in Termina Field itself, most of which you get through some form of either using bugs to get into soil or using water in some form and a magic bean to get to a chest. Or you can use the next dungeon's dungeon item, technically. But the main two ways I do rupee grinding in Majora's Mask are by using the aforementioned Takuri, going through the chests in Termina Field and going through the grass in Termina Field, or by heading to the Snowhead area of Termina Field during the day. Because during the day, there are two large Dodongos that if you use the Goron roll specifically, you can just kind of blitz through without them getting a chance to move. And they respawn every time you enter or exit a hole here in Termina Field. That means you have a pretty quick way of getting 50 rupees with each kill. And I think in terms of time investment, getting 4 of these killed is either a little faster or about the same time it takes to kill a single Takuri. So doing this is a very effective way of getting money in the long run, considering you can get 200 rupees pretty quickly by doing this. And since we need 5,000, getting this even done 4 times in a very quick succession is a very quick 800 rupees. You can also interspice doing the randomly generated ocarina minigame here in case you need to fill up some money here and there. The unfortunate thing about this is, no matter what version you do, no matter how you go about this is a tedious grind for money that takes a while. Even if you hold out for the fastest method of grinding money in an individual pace, or hold out for the best wallet in the game, all that will do is just change the amount of time that you're going between bank visits. Which technically is more efficient, but since I have the time now, I'm going to use it now, kind of deal, you know what I mean? And just to speed this up, we're going to speed up the footage. We have a lot of money to store, and we got a lot of money to grind. You do get a 5 rupee reward every here and there when you do the grind, which is kind of nice, but it doesn't really build up to a lot. I have had playthroughs where I have gotten this reward for getting all the rupees as late as just before the final boss. I've had playthroughs where I have it done before the 4th dungeon. I've had playthroughs where I have it done not long after I finish the 3rd dungeon. It really depends on how much you're willing to go out of the way to do it, and how efficient you are being with things otherwise. Like, I know I had a playthrough of this game where I messed something up in the next 3-day cycle, and I had to kind of waste 3 days, so I just kind of did a lot of rupee grinding on that one. And now I've cut to night, before the Curiosity Shop opens, just to kind of cut out a lot of that. Once it hits night, I recommend you just swap to the Sakuri because the Dodongos are no longer around Northern Termina Field. And the main reason I'm coming here to the Curiosity Shop again on the night of the 3rd day, you might even notice I even restored time to its normal flow to show this off, is to showcase some things you can sell. Namely that, if memory serves, you cannot sell the town deed, even though, annoyingly enough, the Deku Scrubs mention you can do that, which is a lie. On top of whether or not you can sell any other items. For the most part, the only things you can really sell or are of worth are very much bottled things. But notably, here on the night of the 3rd day, if you saved the old lady from the thief at midnight on the 1st day, this All Knight's mask is here. The problem is, we can't get it because it is far too expensive. It is 500 rupees, and we can't hold that much until we get the next wallet upgrade. Kind of mean to taunt the player like this if you go through the game a certain way, and annoyingly, that is almost universally one of the last side quests in the game I do. So that's just going to be taunting us there for a while. Still, not for nothing. A very efficient first normal 3-day cycle. 2 dungeons done, a lot of heart pieces done. We're nearing the halfway point of our overall heart count. So we did pretty good here. But notably, I am also going to show off one more easy way to get some rupees. I forget if it's on the night of the 3rd day or in the final hours. I think it is just during the night of the final day. If you come to the Stockpot Inn, there is a door you can open that you couldn't otherwise. It's the employees only door. Within that is a chest containing another 100 rupees. It is not this door. I always get the two doors confused which one's employees only or not. It's the first door when you come into the top exit. But also notably, something else I can show off. This room right here, there is this bed here with some boxers on it. It's not just a joke. There's an actual mechanical purpose to this. If you put on the Mask of Sense, it actively marks it with a pink-purple mist. The power of this mask allows you to see what you can smell. If it's possible, put the scent into something and take it to the Magic Hacks Potion Shop. You can, whenever you find something like this, I think you can find some of these in the forest, you can whip up the scent into a bottle as a mushroom. Your nose is tickled by its fragrant scent. You can take that to the Magic Hacks Potion Shop, I think for a free blue potion. Maybe it's a green potion, I don't quite remember. I actually never really do anything with this, because if I need a blue potion down the line, there's better ways to get it, on top of the fact that there's a better way to cure curses down the line anyway. Because that's what the blue potion does, it cures the curse that the bubbles inflict on you. Also, you may notice there was a weird little dress in that room, keep that in mind for later. So at this point, the only thing I can really do is more rupee grinding. But I'm not going to because I think I've done enough for this 3-day cycle. Once it's the final hours, we're just going to reset. As for our final checkpoint here on the end of the first 3-day cycle, we have over 2,000 rupees deposited. Tedious, yes, but for 100% it is needed to be done. I could spend the last 6 hours doing that and just reset at the last minute, but it's not really worth doing. Also notably, the last 6 hours are the only ones that actually count down as 1 minute per 1 hour exactly. There's a little bit of fudging with it otherwise. So let's play the Song of Time, do our next hard save, and go back to the dawn of the first day. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 12, if memory serves, we're going to start off our second proper 3-day cycle and progress on in plot, however we manage to do that. See you guys then.